Hello YouTube, Alex here with another Freebird Media live stream. This morning it is Saturday, October 5th, 2019. Thank you to everyone who joins in to watch this stream live and who watches it afterwards. This morning's stream is just going to be a brief stream discussing Antifa again and some more of the fallout from last weekend's shenanigans at Mohawk College in Hamilton. So it's kind of interesting. I want to talk about a statement released by The Tower, which is an anarchist bookstore in Hamilton, Ontario. It's kind of like a headquarters for Antifa in southern Ontario. And, oh, someone's in the chat already. Great to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. So I think that I'm excited kind of about this stream because I think Antifa, their kind of feet are being held to the fire finally, and they're facing some pushback, and it's good to see you. So give me one moment here, and I'm going to show you guys just a quick recap of what's been going on. So, pardon me. There was a get this ready. There was an elderly woman who was harassed at by Antifa last Sunday at the Maxime Bernier Dave Rubin PPC event. Antifa showed up. In this picture on the left, you can see two women and a male that are blocking this woman with a walker who's trying to get through. The guy on the left, he has been identified, and I've done streams on that. The other two people think they know who they are, but I haven't been able to confirm it myself, so I don't want to say anything publicly. But these three people did this. There was footage of this, and it went viral, and it got, you know, more than 6 million views, I think, within the first 30 hours or something like that. So the world started to see it, and finally, you know, these kind of images and stuff like that, they help people, I think, start to understand more about what Antifa is really all about. So after that happened, more attention has been coming to, you know, to the people who did this. Let's see, get rid of this one. And so the first guy, let's see. This guy here in the middle giving the finger to the camera, that was at a Pegida rally a few months ago where a bunch of nationalists and Pegida people and right-wingers started walking towards the Eaton Center, and they were followed by Antifa, and then a brawl happened. So this guy Allah here in the middle, he is, you know, taking some flack for everything that's happened with the elderly woman, and so his family have released some statements, and I'll read them because the Tower mentioned them. CBC picked up on this story too, so it's been getting a lot of attention. I can actually show you, perhaps, let me pull up this one. This is the official statement right now from Sufi's, which is the restaurant of the family of this man, and where he works, and they seem to be kind of very Antifa-friendly restaurant. And whoever wrote this on behalf of the business said, Allah regrets that he did not step aside and or stand up against the act of verbal abuse that occurred against her, and would love the opportunity to personally extend his apologies to her. That said, we affirm that he did not in any way verbally or physically assault the other woman or any other person. Our family and business do not condone acts of hate, violence, or harassment in any shape or form, and advocate for peace, equality, and free speech for all human beings. Our family immigrated to Canada with the intention of living and working peacefully. Our family's restaurant is a product of our desire to share and spread our love and our food and our culture. So it's worth pointing out that also in a letter. So this is a letter that Sufi said before that statement came out. It emailed this to a woman. And here's a better version of the letter, I think. Let's open this up here. In the letter, initially, they said, it seems the father of the Antifa guy said, "My son thought that this is an anti-terrorist demonstration, so he just wore the mask given to him and stood by the protesters. Before this day, we weren't aware what blanks means or what they stand for." So I question that just because we've seen a lot of footage in multiple Antifa events over the months, so he clearly knows what Antifa is about. So anyway, before I jump to this Facebook post I want to talk about, I'll show you this article here too. So Hamilton, like I said, has a bookstore called The Tower, and it's kind of like an Antifa headquarters. And They were actually in the news last year because a bunch of anarchists got together one night and went down Locke Street, which is a main street in Hamilton, and did a whole bunch of vandalism, smashed all the windows out of the local businesses and stuff. In their minds, they're fighting capitalism and the oppressors or whatever, but in reality, it's a bunch of small business owners who are trying to, whose most of their life is invested in these businesses, right? And these punks just show up and smash everything. They had a sign that said, "We are the ungovernable," and eventually they were governed, and one of them got jail time. Local anarchist and activist Cedar Hopperton pleaded guilty before the Ontario Court of Justice in Hamilton Thursday morning to one count of mischief, for over $5,000, and one count of counseling to commit mischief. So this was from November 29th of last year. It's just not quite a year ago that this happened. And that brings us to, so they're regulars, the Tower, the bookstore, and these people in the Antifa movement. So this brings us to the Facebook post that came out 23 hours ago. And just give me 1 second here. So in the post it says, in the few days since the counter demo, sorry, am I blocking this? Yeah. Let me fix my window here. In the few days since the counter-demo against the Bernier event at Mohawk College, there has been an intense backlash against anti-fascists. In particular, we see as particularly vile the targeting of an organizer based in Toronto named Allah, who immigrated to Canada from Syria. That's the other thing, too. Allah, before joining Antifa, is a recent newcomer to Canada from the Middle East. So it's interesting that he would be coming here to Canada to get away from whatever's going on over there, and then becomes what I would argue is a domestic terrorist in a small amount of time. Based in Toronto, named Allah, immigrated to Canada from Syria. We are enraged to see him subject to racist insults and threats targeting both himself and his family. Personally, I haven't seen almost any racism directed towards him. I've seen a lot of people saying, why the hell did you come here if you're just going to harass old women? But I haven't seen any actual racism directed towards him personally. And I've been watching a lot of social media activity. It's my 2 cents. This backlash has latched onto a video of an elderly person having an uncomfortable few minutes and being slightly delayed. Again, this is all the rationalization from within the mindset of a progressive. So to them, this is just a little bit of a slightly, an uncomfortable few minutes being slightly delayed. Keep in mind this elderly woman already had hearing issues, and they were screaming in her ear, potentially causing ear damage. She released a statement, as did her son as well, which I've talked about in my other streams. This person experienced no harm, she's fine, and afterwards went to a bunch of media outlets where she made comments about how her interest in Bernier stems from concerns about the Middle East, specifically Syrians, and how they have different values from ours. So right away, let's flip this into demonizing the old woman and making her the bad guy, and her into a racist, after these Antifa kids, one of which is a new arrival in the country, showed up, blocked her in the street, and screamed in her ear. And you can watch the footage for yourself and then make a subjective judgment on how bad you think that was. But she says it's not her idea of Canada, that she experiences a little difficulty in supporting an openly xenophobic political party. In this, she is correct. Racism has been a feature of Canada from the beginning. That so much of Hamilton, starting with its media, is focused on an old white person's moment of discomfort rather than yet another immigrant family being targeted for harassment by the racist far right should come as no surprise. This is the Canada she is turning to Bernier to defend. When anarchists write stuff like this, I'm always wondering, are they actually this delusional and they're really good at rationalizing this to themselves and they believe this, or are they more strategic and PR minded and they're just more malicious and know how to show things? I don't know, personally. It's interesting, though. This is the Canada she is turning to bring to. I'd also add that when people say that racism has been a feature of Canada from the beginning, I would challenge them to say, as relative to what and where else in history at that time, because really we are probably the most liberal civilization that's ever existed, and what racism we have in our past is, I think, should always be compared relative to the fact that everyone else was more racist than this, significantly so. So it's a matter of getting the right perspective on the past. We need to prepare to defend ourselves from this reaction. It is unfortunate, but it unfortunately isn't surprising. What is surprising is the number of anti-fascists. This is also what I want to stress, guys, because this is why I think that us giving so much attention to them is important. They don't. I'll say something else in a moment too, because most Antifa members in Ontario that I know don't realize how much intel other people that are not friends of theirs have on them. I don't dox people, and I'm not like into that kind of stuff, but I know that a lot of other people have a ton of intel on all these people, way more than these people think. So here's what I find interesting, though. What is surprising is the number of anti-fascists who, in the face of a bit of unpopularity and outrage, are distancing themselves from the counter-protest. We don't need to agree with every tactical... I'm wondering if maybe a few of them grew a little bit of a conscience when watching the footage of that old lady, or if they're all just completely morally bankrupt. We don't need to agree with every tactical decision everyone makes, and of course we should always try to do better. But once the dust clears, the most lasting harm will be by those who didn't stay solid. Those who threw other anti-fascists under the bus and stepped away from their political ideals because they were worried about what the internet might say. Allah's family felt pushed to put out a statement apologizing for the events, but the final sentence is telling. They closed by asking people to stop sending abusive or threatening messages to their restaurant, their family members, and their staff. That a coerced apology like this is being gleefully circulated by the mainstream media should make us all stop and think about the importance of staying strong in our politics and offering unwavering solidarity. Old Lady Gate is a made-up scandal, and we need to be strong enough in our ideas and organizing to shrug off that kind of hype and focus on what matters. Many other people are experiencing this kind of harassment right now, and we would like to express our solidarity with all of them. There may yet be criminal charges coming down, and it's important to remember the reasons a demo like this matters. We have a responsibility to oppose rising racist, xenophobic, and misogynistic forces, and to resist their normalization through assholes like Bernier. There may be police sniffing around trying to convince people to inform or to help them identify people, and they are certainly following all the terribly unwise social media posts of blurred video and loose talk. Posting information about criminalizing acts on social media can be just as bad as sending it to the cops directly, and airing arguments about tactics exposes fault lines that repression can exploit. Popularity is a fickle wind. It shouldn't change a thing about our commitments. Let's stay solid and keep each other safe and ready for the next time, as there will be many. So there is a statement from the Tower, the anarchist headquarters and bookstore in Hamilton, Ontario, where they are acknowledging that there's been a lot of blowback. A lot of Antifa members are kind of shying away from things now, and they're encouraging people to step it up. They're saying Old Lady Gate is a made-up fake thing that didn't happen, even though we have tons of footage of it, so it's obviously a real thing. And you see how they spin the whole thing as if they're doing something good. They did nothing wrong. They minorly inconvenienced an old woman, and instead now it's all about the racism being directed towards this Antifa member that harassed her and how bad it is. Interesting. So I think that partly our efforts to, sorry, let's put this over here, to start bringing more attention to Antifa have been working. Sorry, guys. Still new with OBS, so hopefully I'm not annoying you guys too much when I go back and forth like this. Point is, I think we're doing a good job of exposing them. It's Freebird Media was at that event, so we have live stream footage of everything from the first 30 minutes of the protest outside, and footage of the violence, and I have footage of Kevin Metcalf being arrested. So it's hard for them to dispute stuff when the public can just see for themselves exactly what's going on at these events and how people are behaving and stuff like that. Sorry guys, so I'm just checking the chat now. Great to see everyone. This is lately I've been getting a lot more activity with people in the chat, so it's great to see people having this conversation. Someone says hello from Montreal, good to see you. Mad Marshall, good to see you. See a bunch of regulars in here. Patrick says the tower needs to burn. I think it probably will burn by its own accord sooner rather than later, I bet. But we'll see. Someone says, what scumbags? Let's not forget that their biggest media proponent, Evan Balgord, lives... Okay. I'm not going to start doxing people, but the public will take care of that on its own, I'm sure. CBC, in my opinion, RCMP needs to burn. I mean, that not literally. I think that the CBC needs to be completely gutted and restaffed and refocused, but that a national broadcasting corporation is needed if you want to have somewhat of a cohesive Canadian identity, or help foster that anyway, and also just to for pragmatic reasons when you have to get certain information out to a lot of people quickly, especially health kind of information, stuff like that. What we have right now is something that's necessary. It's just not being used correctly. So that's my views on the CBC. Yeah, see, there's a commenter here that says, I imagine that Antifa would feel assaulted if someone went down to the tower and screamed, "You queers," in their faces repeatedly. That's another thing I kind of want to stress here. For the progressive movement, which is all about, like, speech codes, like Bill C-16, they're always saying that certain words and certain things are literally assault to people. So I'm always talking on this channel about moral psychology because it's fascinating to me the way different people constantly justify their own actions based on how their personality kind of gives them a lens of the world, right? So in this case, the progressives are always claiming that words are violence, but then literally blocking an old woman in the street and screaming very loudly in her ear things like Nazi and slurs that are actually not even accurate. How that's not violence, but misgendering someone's pronoun is violence, to me just shows how schizophrenic and not real any of this ideology really is, and that's why I think it's more embedded in other stuff like virtue signaling and why these people have their own personality problems and stuff. That's why so many of them have criminal records. They don't give it, and the ones that always get, like Alex Hunter and the person at the tower, their Hopperton, and all these other people, they always get arrested for like counseling others to do violence, right? And the reason that they're using other people who are gullible, basically. They treat their own lives like they're disposable. They all, getting arrested for stupid shit and getting criminal records and everything. You think they give a shit what happens to any of these other kids that they use all their far left rhetoric on when they're young and brainwash them and stuff? Of course not. They're all scumbags in my opinion. Somebody says Antifa claims they aren't a group and no one controls anything or speaks for them. There isn't any central leader, really. It's just a loose coalition of people in different areas that kind of shit. The thing about progressive ideology is it's so basic and simple, and it's like 7 axioms, right? That you can kind of learn the rhetoric, and then you can give someone this little prepackaged little ideology, and they can just kind of run with it forever because it's basically just based on circular logic on a bunch of stuff. Really, it's just based on hating straight, cis, white guys. Mostly guys like me that literally they have no reason to hate, or they didn't before this whole culture war started anyway. The unfortunate thing about that whole thing too is that what they don't, first of all, whenever they hate guys like me because they think the patriarchy oppresses them, they don't understand from a sociobiological point of view and anthropological, whatever. Historically, patriarchy has been created and established by females. It's part of females being choosy maters. This goes back to even before we were humans. So it's a primate thing. It's been created and maintained by females because they choose mates on a hierarchy, right? So what they don't understand is that that patriarchy oppresses men too, other men, and it's like a triangle, right? And the majority of men are on the bottom, so the majority of guys are expendable, throwaway units, basically. And there's a biological reason for that too, right? Females are more valuable than men, evolutionarily speaking, because they have a limited amount of eggs inside of them. Men have basically unlimited sperm. So when you're trying to, have a population that needs to bounce back from something or whatever else, the females are the valuable ones. Men are basically expendable, working class men, right? So this progressive ideology is just zoned in mostly on hating like working class white guys that really did nothing wrong. And that's another thing, I guess. I should do another whole other stream about that, but it's worth pointing out. Someone says Antifa is bait, so we will go after them and not their leaders. I don't think that if for the progressives watching this, or my critics and people that don't like this that are watching this right now, I should point out to you that I'm not, and I do this because I'm into free speech and using words to bring about change and to sort things out. I don't actually advocate for street violence, but I'm telling you, the Antifa are always harassing people at rallies saying like we're going to dox you or we're going to like put you in the computer or whatever. There are other people that are definitely paying attention to all of you right now and like keeping files on all of you kids too, and most of you are not hard to find. Like you make up fake names on social media, but like look at Allah here. Like they know who you are. People know who you guys are, even if you think they don't. I'm warning you guys that now. Not that I am gonna ever do anything to you, but people are watching you. Patrick says, read the Kevin Metcalf post below the Antifa statement. Hey, I'll play a video on the stream before I wrap it up of funny. There's some footage of Metcalf from 2 years ago at Nathan Phillips Square. I wanted to point out in this one Antifa video I have. Okay. Someone's already put this out there many times, so I'm not necessarily advocating doxing Evan Balgord, but someone keeps saying, if you're not allowed to vote for a nationalist party in Canada without being doxed by Evan Balgord, who lives blah, 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 then you don't get to push old ladies around. That's also very valid. The CNP is a nationalist party in Canada. It's not a neo-Nazi party. It's not a racist party. Their policies are not race-based. They are the furthest right party in Canada. They are, in my opinion, a reactionary movement. I've interviewed Travis Patron. I know a lot of guys in the party. I understand why a lot of guys ended up there, and I think they also have a lot of reasonable ideas on different things. I'm not a member of the party. I'm not planning on voting for the CNP, but I also don't think that they deserve the smears that they get about being Nazis and all this other stuff. And so, yeah, when Evan Balgord and his anti-hate network and all these people, they go and they dox all these people. They're basically undermining the democratic process, because they're saying, hey, if we find out you voted for any of these people, we're gonna like hunt you down because we have the moral authority to do so because you're racist. And they don't, and they're not. So I don't think that you should be allowed to be able to go out and be doxing everyone you just don't like, and then also play the card of like, well, we're allowed to scream in old women's faces. It's just it's so much bullshit and hypocrisy. It just drives me nuts. Gun Cotton just joined the chat. Good to see you, man. Interesting. Someone says, when faced with Antifa, another law is to state, do not interfere with my person. They touch you or intimidate further, you have rights thereafter. Good to know, because I'm going to play a video on the stream from my channel where someone's saying, do not touch me, and it's interesting to know that maybe legally it was smart for him to be doing that. I'm going to play that in a second. I'm just reading some more chats here. Somebody says, progressive ideology is about hating white people, Christians, and whatever Western country they are in, but primarily hatred for the USA. That's basically true. Listen, I'm making a generalization here, but progressive ideology, basically what it really, really, truly is about hating white people from people who are resentful or were raised or were misinformed, and basically are using an outlet where they can simultaneously virtue signal and kind of vent their racism towards white people. Probably, and really, I think what they really hate are rich, arrogant white people. But in their mind, it becomes extrapolated to all white people, and so then they just, it just becomes a part of their whole personality and ideology. And so, yeah, I'm a well-read guy. I'm pretty educated. I can break down the actual intellectuals and the thinkers in the movement of the far left. Foucault and Chomsky and Derrida, and this guy's not necessarily. Well, I like Saul Alinsky a lot, so I'll throw him in there too. And we can talk about like the actual narratives of progressives that the more enlightened ones would have. But when you're talking about young kids who are punks and they're in Antifa, and like the majority of NPCs who just spout this rhetoric all the time, those are the reasons they're doing it, for socials, because it's socially acceptable, and to virtue signal now progressive ideology, or because they just hate or are resentful towards white people. And like, don't get me wrong, there are shitty, arrogant, rich white people. They are the ones that annoy me the most. I think most of these problems in society are caused from upper class, bored, well-off white people. That's demographics change. That'll change. So it's just basically bored upper class people that have different psychological needs and reasons to virtue signal that bring about all this crap in the end. Someone just said, Alex, you ever read The Rebel Cell? No, I didn't actually. I'll add that to I keep a notebook beside my computer now just for book recommendations, so I'll add this one here. I'm just curious. Give me a brief rundown on what it's about. Okay, and also I've tried to do streams about this before, and people like maybe I didn't miss. The reason I've done streams before talking about concepts like mating intelligence and sexual market value and stuff like that, and is because not to beat a dead horse on this, but keep watching of all the Antifa footage I've ever played on this channel. Has anyone ever seen a physically fit guy in Antifa, or like someone that looked like they had their shit together and could handle themselves? No, of course not. They're all sort of fit a general profile, a cliche. None of the men in that movement are like masculine men, and you can pretty much extrapolate from that part of why they're doing this. And other psychologists have, like Gad said, it's a sneaker fucker strategy. Essentially, they're so clueless about what women actually want that they think that by sucking up to them and like parroting their progressive politics to them and white knighting that they're gonna be more attractive. And hell, I don't know. I don't know what it's like to be in their position or to have an appearance deficit. So I don't know what I would do if maybe that's if they have no other strategies. Hell, maybe I'd do it too, but it just really sucks that you always have these people that are masking their own kind of social game in politics and then taking it out on other people. Been seeing this for so many years now. It's just you just get numb to it, but it's so annoying. I'm going to just play some footage here for you guys from my channel. I made a video a little while ago, and I thought this was funny, so I thought I'd play it for you on my stream. I made a little montage of some of the street violence of Antifa that I've recorded over the years, and then I synced it up with a fight scene from Power Rangers, and the audio goes together amazing. So I'm just going to let this play for you guys for a second. Go to the split screen. Here it is. I think I hit 2 for a second.
Oh man, talk about bad timing. You okay?
Tommy's gone.
Something is definitely up.
It's weird. Buddies didn't even attack him.
Yeah. Come on, let's get...
I'm not sure if you guys caught it there, but Kevin Metcalf's actually in that video reaching for his camera and he's being held back. I'll show you here. I'll wind this back. I'll play this at half speed here and you'll see Kevin Metcalf before he tried to rebrand himself as more macho. It's him right here going for part of one of his camera equipment or something that he dropped. And then we jump in here to some Proud Boys fighting Antifa, people getting dragged to the ground. I love this clip. There's another video I wanted to show you guys too, just give you more examples of Antifa tactics here. And I thought this was interesting too, because I have a clip on my channel of Pam Seattle from City TV News getting harassed by Antifa, and it's interesting to see how that interaction played out.
like they're shutting down the news to report.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Hey, don't touch me.
Stop fucking filming.
Excuse me. All right, listen. Everybody listen up.
So there you can see how Antifa will pretty much harass everyone, even mainstream reporters. And what's interesting about that is the reporter being harassed in the beginning of that clip there, kind of went on social media right away on Twitter and was calling people out for that, and then later in the day deleted her tweets. And so I don't know what the... And, you know, it's not even like she's with one of the more progressive... she's with City News, so she's not too... They're not like the CBC, but I don't know what the mandate is there, but they must have told her, you know, take those down, or why mainstream media covers for Antifa all the time instead of, you know, reflect them accurately in their coverage when they even their own reporters get harassed like this, is something I'd be really curious to find out. Just looking at the chat again here, guys. Yeah, okay, someone's saying, I love how they're chanting at City TV, the city's as left as can be intolerant. Exactly, so, like, there's no... It's not really about anything at the end of the day except, like, also people in general that have shitty lives want an outlet or a way to... They want to get violent. They're itching to get violent. They want a target for their anger, right? So they'll just... It's just an endless rationalization of this violence. And here's the thing you should know, too, about intelligence and how it kind of breaks down in politics. Yes, it's true that people that tend to be average and below tend to fall on the right of many issues, and people that are slightly average and above tend to be on the left, and then usually the people that are the most intelligent end up on the right again, but from a different perspective. And the people on the left, the higher you are in verbal cognition and your verbal abilities and your verbal IQ, and the more intelligent you are, the better you are at rationalizing your own bullshit. So the thing you gotta remember, just because someone has a higher IQ than you doesn't mean they're correct about things. It just probably means they're better at coming up with like long, elaborate rationalizations for something that could be true. It's harder for dim-witted people to understand why a guy could wake up one day, put on a dress, and suddenly be a woman. And that's also why I believe that you have to have patience with people when you're trying to bring them towards what these people would call progress, instead of just morally denouncing them as soon as they don't understand something that isn't self-evident. So yeah, what I was saying is that there's a lot of intelligent people on the left, but as the research has shown, a lot of intelligent people that have anxiety and mood disorders and are a little bit crazy, they get drawn and swept into this progressive stuff. They're the ones who become the SJW types a lot of the time. Just start having street hockey games at PPC events, full contact, says Mad Marshall. That'd actually be really fun, man. I'd love that. Or boxing events. I'm still into boxing is my other passion in life. I'm still training. Want to compete in January. Trying to finish writing my book right now, because it's just like when you're in writing mode, it's hard to have a rigidly structured day. It's hard to explain, but I want to get it done so I can just focus on a strength and conditioning camp for like 2 months and then do that. Anyway, so with boxing, I see a lot of other YouTubers and stuff too, people putting together it's like a trending thing right now. And I've been trying to get a boxing match together for months, and Tim Kelly and I are kind of putting together something for maybe in like a month from now, with just some guys like that were in Proud Boys and different guys on the right to get together and do some boxing matches. But I'm also looking for like a challenge with someone who trains the way was it Logan Paul who did a match? I forget. One of those. There's a bunch of KS1 and there's a bunch of like e-celebrities now that are doing boxing matches, and I would love to get in on that. Actually, I think it'd be hilariously fun. Back to the chat. Ruby Tad says there is more than meets the eye. You're onto something big, Free Bermuda. Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate everyone in this chat right now. I've been getting better traffic lately, and I really appreciate it. Christian Alvarez, hey man, really great to see you. Thanks for showing up. He says, buddy, I'd love to see you compete in boxing. Okay, I want to do at least 3 amateur fights in my life starting in January, and so like I probably won't win. I don't want to like publicize the first couple because I probably won't win, but by the time I've had a few experience, and I wouldn't mind live streaming one of my own fights. So You'll definitely eventually, you will see me competing as an amateur, Christian. I can pretty much promise you that. Malcolm McKee says, you read the ominous parallels yet? No, I haven't. Tell me, just give me a brief description on what that is. I'm going to add that to the list along with the Rebel Cell. Malcolm McKee says, bad art scene was also present in Weimar, Germany. Sorry, I see Bill Berry's comment, but I don't know what, I didn't see the comments earlier, so I don't know what who he's directing at. He says, Christian, my money is definitely on the landscaper with a college degree. Christian's awesome man. Okay, someone says it's a similar phenomenon with how some highly intelligent artists explain their art with convoluted artist statements. Yeah, absolutely. There's a comment here. Someone says, society was much politer when you could solve an issue by shooting it out. Now, I know that sounds kind of... where's my book here? Shoot, you know, sometimes I want to recommend a book and then I'm using that book to prop up the camera I'm using. But I'm always talking about my favorite book on this channel, which is The Professor in the Cage, right? And as much as that statement is kind of funny, there is truth in that. Back in the days when we're living in what we call now like outrage culture, but like if you want to look at this sociologically, we evolved out of honor culture, and part of honor culture was dueling, and dueling was a big part of like European civilization until very recently, like more recently than you think. Alexander Hamilton, for example, who is on which American dollar bill? I forget off the top of my head, but he died in a dueling match not far across Lake Erie from where I grew up, actually, and then his father died in a duel trying to avenge his son's duel. And dueling was something that was way more common than people think, and because it was like honor is something that the concept is not, it's not part of modern 21st century life, so people don't really understand it historically. But back in the day, like honor meant a lot. So if someone was talking shit, you had to step up. And people, like, part of the book that the Professor in the Cage is always asking the question, you know, ultimately Alexander Hamilton ate a serious he ate a lead bullet to the gut and died slowly and painfully over, you know, 8-hour period for no reason, basically, except for this goofy duel. And men are always fighting, men are always dueling, and so the question comes up, why this stupid behavior? Well, it's not really stupid once you understand the concept and why honor matters. So, like, for example, a little while ago, I was trying to, there's this goofy, idiotic white nationalist in Canada named Ronnie Cameron. He's always running his mouth, and I was trying to call him out to have a boxing match, because on the internet, talk is cheap, everyone can run, but you know, the reason I never get upset about things on the internet like this is because it's not real. This is just the internet. It's not real life. But I wanted to have a boxing match with him because I think when you run your mouth, if you want to, bring up the whole masculinity thing, I'd beat the shit out of him in a ring. So tried to set something up with him, and initially he agreed, and then he found out that I train and have a longer reach than him, and he made up a bunch of excuses for why he wouldn't. But the point is, I don't advocate. It's not like we can go back in the past to realistically to a society where everyone has a gun and you just shoot someone when they offend you. But there is something to be said about a culture with honor where you have to really think twice before you just free flow run your mouth, which is all that's the world today in 2019. That's all that it is anymore. It's just arrogant kids running their mouths 24/7. Someone says dueling should be made legal again. I don't have a thought on that off the top of my head, but I actually have to stop and think about this, because I think if two people are consensually willing to duel, maybe not to the death, for some part of me thinks we've evolved beyond, we shouldn't allow that, but some kind of duel should definitely be allowed. That's why also I just, as a side note, as a theme on this channel, I'm always advocating, especially for the men that watch this, get involved in some kind of martial art. Like I only got involved in boxing this year, and I'm in my 30s, so I'm way behind, but I wish it was something I always wanted to do in my 20s. I was just always working or couldn't afford it, but become like proficient in some martial art. It doesn't have to be boxing, be kickboxing, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. It's just all around will make you like more confident and happy and physically fit and stuff. So it should be, I don't know, like these Antifa types, they would never go and actually seriously get involved in something physical and masculine like a martial art. They'd rather just put on a mask and go try to LARP. But really, the more you develop individually, wherever you'll just all that other stuff kind of becomes irrelevant because you start getting more empowered. That's another thing. You can tell that none of these Antifa guys have ever done anything like that because they have no self-empowerment, and you can recognize that if you yourself have some of it because you can just pick up on all the subtle nuances of the stupid shit they do. That kind of reveals that, and it's like even in that one. I'll play that footage I was playing from the Facts versus Feelings video the other day. You saw there's like one muscular guy kind of in that whole Antifa group, and he was that clown-looking guy with the mohawk. But then you can see his partner there in the video, and you're like, what is going on? So I don't, something weird with him. I actually found that guy on Facebook. I want to reach out to him. I don't think he'd ever talk to me, but it'd be really great to try to have the thing I wish Antifa realized too is like they should talk to me because I'm not rude. It's not like I'm going to argue with them or cut them off. It's not like I have one personality. If I'm interviewing someone on the right, then I'd be more aggressive to people on the left. My whole thing is my personal style with interviewing is to not be aggressive because I just want people to basically honestly say who they are, what they are. So like I wish that I could get more left-wing people on this channel just to open up on what they think. I might press them a little bit to try to, or be a little bit of a devil's advocate just to get them to kind of elaborate on certain things. But I'm not going to be, it's not going to turn into like Fox News where I'm just like Kevin O'Learying them and not listening to what they say or talking over them or anything. I'd love to get them to just like just to have a record of them, not even argue with them, just to like get them to talk. But alas, with the whole thing with the far left and progressives is once you talk to like anyone who's not a progressive, they just basically won't talk to you. Generally speaking. Yeah, somebody said guy was okay physique, but he clearly had mental health problems. Well, the research shows that a large percentage of Antifa do have mental health problems, so that very well probably true. Someone says, did you see the shirtless Antifa dude arrested in Portland after harassing Julio Rosas? Not yet, actually. If there's a link to that, throw it in the channel, though. I might play it and comment on it in the stream. Man says Trudeau is too plain, so that is a 50-50 chance of being shot down. Sorry, I don't know what the context of that is. It's just funny. Physique isn't the best indicator. They have homeless kids who are in good shape but whom have addiction. Yeah, oh no, that's true. You can't judge a book by its cover, and you can't tell who can fight by their physique per se. And a lot of these guys are strung out crackheads, so they probably have like energy for days. But they're definitely not proficient fighters. I mean, nobody is. And that footage from the Eaton Center is hilarious because I mean the guys on the right can fight better than the left wingers, but nobody knows how to fight really. They're all just throwing these hilarious punches. And even I'm not saying that I'm a great fighter or anything. I just like 6 months of boxing has given me a different kind of appreciation for body language and stuff. But when you watch those guys, the Antifa definitely do not know how to fight. But that's not really what it's about. At street brawl level, it's more just about blunt hitting and smashing and guerrilla tactics and acting in a group or whatever. So, oops. Sorry, I'm really appreciating all the comments in this chat. There's so many I can't really keep up with everything. This was in regards to, I think, what Antifa was saying most are white and are white haters. It makes me laugh. They are following things America do and judge other country on America when Canada has a different history than the USA. Yeah, Canada has a significantly different history than the United States, which is why I've always made fun of people like Ronnie Cameron or anyone who tried to import like a American-style white nationalism into Canada. I just thought was super ignorant because it doesn't work just because of our whole history is different. We're a white Western nation, so we're like brothers with the United States, but we definitely have a different background, a very, very different culture. Ruby Test says, have a great day, folks. I'm off to knock on doors for PPC. Thanks for stopping by, dude. Good luck, and appreciate you joining the chat. Someone says, I think meth fuels Antifa. That's probably true, but to be fair, meth also fuels a large amount of Pegida, in my opinion. I mean, if we were to do a teeth analysis of a lot of the guys in Pegida against Antifa, there's probably more meth going on in, it's hard to say, both camps, but I think Antifa probably end up doing more fentanyl, and Pegida probably do more meth, if I had to guess. So, Shadow Beast says their arguments need to rhyme or else it's too complex. If they can't chant, it's no fun to them. Chanting seems to be a big part of the appeal to them. Oh, sorry, Bill said, Alex, ain't you a landscaper? I thought you were a landscaper. Yeah, definitely. Before I started Freebird Media, I spent 2 years in East End of Toronto working for a landscaping company. And I really valued it because I'd been in university for a while before that. Well, and I had a few other jobs before landscaping. But then I got into landscaping, and I appreciated a couple years of solid labor. But it's just like at the end of the day, they're long days, and you get home and you're kind of too tired. So if your life is all about being a landscaper and then just having your weekends off, it's a good lifestyle. But I wanted to, just because I was educated and I had more, like I wanted to get involved in writing and stuff more. I was like, I wanted to do it for a few years. The money I was making wasn't great either. So then I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna jump into other stuff in media. But the point is, I really appreciate but even before, I mean, I grew up working on farms. Right? I'm not from the city. I'm from a rural area, so I grew up working on farms. And I had a bunch of other jobs. I've always been a very working class guy. So a lot of these Antifa people to me just seem like people who've never actually worked before. And I understand what it's like getting soft. I was in the ivory tower for too long, and it made me soft. Then I had to get my ass kicked for a while, and then kind of like get my shit together in some ways. And I still haven't recovered from some ways when I screwed up when I was younger. Point being though that good solid like physical labor does every man good, at least for a while. Like at least a couple of years of it. It's character building for sure. Sven says, Alex, it's not Antifa's agenda. They don't want peaceful outcomes. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. They don't actually, like, because most of this is a justification or a mask for like them wanting a way to lash out at people, right? So the whole, for them, progressive ideology is just kind of a tool that they can use to as a way to justify what they want to do, which is go out and act like a thug. Bill Barry says, if having a high IQ means you think there's 1,000 different sexes, then I'm glad I have a low IQ. I think that the high IQ people know that there's only 2 different sexes. I think that a minority of high IQ people that have mental illness can bend their minds to justify this. And then I think a lot of average or slightly above average intelligent people that got into university that are very kind of gullible and high in trait openness and empathy usually get kind of suckered into believing it too. So I can understand what you're saying though, trust me. I want to play another video for you guys. I just don't know what video to play. Let me see if I have what other Antifa footage I have on my channel. Seems like I've already gone through a lot of Antifa footage in my streams. What else can I show you guys that I haven't shown you yet? You know, here's another channel from the Canadian Patriot, and they have hold on a second, I have to figure out what's going on because it looks like they either... This is our Freebird Media video, but I'm finding it on someone else's channel, but they might just be using some... I can't tell if it's the entire video or not. Yeah, check it out. Some other channel called the Canadian Patriot just straight up took my video, ripped it off, and then uploaded it on his channel. He only has 200 views, so it doesn't really annoy me, and his channel's not monetized, but... Okay guys, I'm going to just point out that this is how the media game works. Other people are always taking my media and resharing it on their channels, but the point is it's still me and my guys that I bring that have to go and do the legwork and commute all the way out to Hamilton and then record and edit this stuff. So shout out to Freebird and the actual content creators. If you support what we do, feel free to help us out on Patreon with a couple bucks, or PayPal or whatever. Also have these mugs. They're a little. It's the shipping that makes these mugs kind of expensive. It's like $30 to get a mug once you're on, but they're good mugs. Also like the fact that they're small, so your coffee cools at a good rate, and then you can drink it without having to wait for half an hour. Here's some more. Here's another. You know, again, more Antifa guys that are never fit. This guy with the mustache is kind of interesting too. So I want to give a shout out to Kevin J. Johnson actually for sharing his footage with Freebird Media, because some of this footage we recorded, but the other footage was shared with us from Kevin J. Johnston, who a lot of you know as a figure on the right who's run for mayor before. I guess they left our thing here on the end of our video because they just uploaded the whole thing on their channel, which is funny to find that. But thank you to the other content creators who share media. We've shared media with people before, and I really appreciate Kevin sharing his footage of Metcalf being arrested with us. And shout out to the other channels and other that have been involved. You know, I'm hopefully going to be doing a live stream chat with Rance Derek tomorrow evening. That's what we scheduled tentatively, so hopefully it materializes. He was at the Bernier event on Sunday, so I'd like to talk to him about that and stuff. And I think a lot of people that watch my channel are familiar with his channel, so that should be a really great chat tomorrow evening, I'm hoping. And sorry, let me just find some more footage for you guys. I'm just going to check the chat again quickly. Oh, someone just threw in $2. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate that. Gets me some coffee. Howard G says he's good. Yeah, support from you guys on Super Chat, and someone sent me $5 yesterday. So much thank you to that person, and then we got another $2 subscriber on Patreon, so I got to thank that person as well. My whole goal with Patreon was always to try to get a whole bunch of people that appreciated our work to donate like $2 each, so that we could have a pot of money that helped our platform basically run and get our transportation and stuff covered, and then not have any corporate interests or any sponsors that really biased us. Because if you're funded through Patreon through a lot of people giving you small donations, then you still have the support, but nobody really pulls the strings. You're not anybody's puppet that way. So that's why I'm always kind of pushing that angle. And it's like I'm just trying to basically figure out how I can give people $2 worth of valuable media. Because if enough people valued it at $2, it would only take like 1,500 fans donating $2 each for us to be like killing it every month. So just kind of telling you guys kind of part of like my marketing strategy. Somebody says the MSN News is not telling Canadians about all the machete attacks in Canada. Again, that's why indie media like this is kind of important. I have to work full-time as a server at a restaurant, so I do this on the side. But if I was liberated from that and I could do this full-time and we had resources, man, we'd be killing it, because I have at this point all of the technical knowledge and all the media knowledge up here. We just gotta catch up with our resources. RCMP stated an Aryan Brotherhood in the 1980s. Started an Aryan Brotherhood in the 1980s. Serious. I know a little bit about what I think you're referencing, and CSIS has been involved in like fake white nationalist stuff in the 80s. So yeah, I know what you're talking about. Tim Kelly. Also, Tim is my buddy who has submitted footage to Freebird Media before, which is seriously appreciated. So thanks so much, Tim, for that as well. Tim saying, get ready to eat some canvas, Alex. Sorry in advance. So Tim, right now our event we're putting together is tentatively scheduled for me and Tim to box. And I think Tim has some serious cojones because he doesn't train. So I think it'll be a really fun fight. And obviously it's all in good fun. But I think it'll be a really, really fun night once we get this set up. Pan Man apparently is interested. He might fight somebody, the guy known as Canadian Pan Man. I've never met him yet, but someone said he'd be interested. And I don't know. We got to find a way to kind of raise some awareness for something of this thing. But really, I think a bunch of guys just want an excuse to have some fun and have some amateur boxing and stuff. So that's kind of what we're putting together. Anyway, back to the chat. Bill Berry says an armed society is a polite society. Just look at all the machete attacks and home invasions in countries with strict gun control laws. That's partly true, but I also remember growing up in rural Canada, which was a very polite society, and nobody was armed. So I don't think it's necessary for polite society. And I wish that we could just get to a point of having a polite society where it wasn't necessary for everyone to have a gun that they might shoot their neighbor. But building a high-trust society is a complex, time-consuming, long-term process that most people don't understand, and that's also why I'm against mass immigration. Not because I'm a racist, but because I think systemic structural integrity of liberal democracies is important. I think that you can't overflood them with too many people too soon, and stuff like that. But that never really gets brought up when my critics want to smear it. So it's all just racism, right? It's the same reason most people are in the PPC or the people that support the CMP or anything like that. It's not because they're racist. This is because too much immigration of people that aren't really compatible with you too soon isn't good for anybody. It just floods out the small, good spots of light in the world. Anyway, I keep going off on tangents. Sorry about that, guys. A lot of good book recommendations here, guys. After the stream wraps up, I'll go back when I have more time and read through the stream and write down all the books that people have thrown up here. But always appreciate the suggestions because I'm always reading, and even right now I got like 20 books on the list, and I'm trying to finish like 4 of them at the same time. But always appreciate new stuff. Yeah, somebody just said if you're not a liberal at 20, you have no heart. If you're not a conservative at 30, you have no brain. That's basically true, I think, for sure. I was a liberal at 20, and I turned conservative at 30 for pretty much those reasons. Tim says we're still looking for guys. Yeah, true, guys. So if anyone out there boxes or has amateur experience or is just likes having fun and you might want to jump in on this event, feel free to get in touch with either Tim Kelly or me through this channel. Oh, somebody just said, are you using OBS? Your broadcaster program is tripping out on that scene setup. Shoot, I didn't know that. Sorry, guys, I am using OBS. I'm just kind of learning as I go here, too. So, yeah, sorry that sometimes it's the transitions aren't that smooth. But I'm learning on the fly, and everything's getting significantly better anyway. I think the HD is a big step up, and I like that I can just show you on screen stuff I'm talking about now as I talk. So, I also want to point out that it's hard to run a channel like this. However, I have gained like 450 subscribers in a week now, so this was a good week for me. And I got an email from someone yesterday who sent me $5 because they appreciated the channel, but they said, you know, I wouldn't. The algorithm didn't show me your video. I only found it through searching a hashtag, and a lot of people have been saying that lately. So I don't know how YouTube works, or if the algorithms, how they work, or if they're stacked against this channel because it's been flagged as something, which is possible. I don't know. But word of mouth seems to be like the most important thing for me right now for growing this channel. So if you like this channel, if you have any like friends that are not into like progressive politics or like any media and stuff, please, word of mouth is like my main way to grow. Or sharing the content on your social media, right? So those two things. If you can do that, if you value my channel, I would love you guys for that. And on that note, I like to keep my streams, I guess, to an hour or less so that people tune in after the fact. So I covered everything I wanted to cover with Antifa today. I think I'm going to spend the rest of the afternoon working on my book before I go to work. So I just want to thank everyone for joining the chat. I'll go through it afterwards and get those book recommendations. And I'll be back again tomorrow with another live stream. So thanks, everyone. Thanks for supporting Freebird Media. Love you guys, and talk to you guys again soon.